Now let's take a quick look at how to use so-called dimensional analysis to help check our answers when we're working a problem. So for example, you'll recall from a few videos back that force has units of mass times length divided by time squared. And a little bit later in the class, we'll see that the force of gravity can be written as mass 1 times mass 2 times Newton's gravitational constant g divided by the distance between the two masses squared. In other words, this has units of mass times whatever units g is divided by length squared. So what are the units of g? Well, we can work backwards now, right? Because we know that these two units should match. And so that tells us that we have mass times g all over length squared. That's the same thing as mass times length all over time squared. So we can cancel out one of the masses, right? We can take this mass, move it down here, take the length squared, move it up here, right? So again, just basic algebra, and we get g has units of length cubed divided by mass times time squared, right? And so, it's a good way for constants when maybe you can't remember what the units are, to double check your work, because then maybe you're working a problem and you have some force that's multiplied by g. You can't really check your units because you forgot what g's units are. So the way you can see this coming in handy is, what if we have something like energy, where energy again has units of E, which has units of mass times length squared divided by time squared. And then what if I try using energy is 1/2 m squared times, so mass squared times velocity squared. Well, if I did this, we see my units are going to be mass squared, length squared over time squared. But this can't be right? I have units of mass squared. So if I'm working a problem and I get to a point where I measure an energy and I see that it has the wrong units, then that's a good clue to me that I need to go back and look at what I did and find out where I made a mistake. Okay, and so one of the key things that I hope you take away from this semester is to always check your units. Okay, if you're doing this on an exam, it's a really good way to catch that you're making a mistake. Even if you're doing this, solving a problem in your career once you move away from here, you'd be surprised how many mistakes you catch because you have the wrong units. So dimensional analysis is really important, and then this is going to be the last video that's on this topic of units.